So that was adding a new file system, and if you need more help with that, just go through the YouTube videos that were posted previously. Where are they? I think they were posted in the previous week, and email me and I'll be glad to go through it with you. Now let's go on to exploring the graphic user interface, GUI. There are some configuration tasks that we need to perform. All these tasks can be performed at the command line, but we're making it easier. You can just do it from the graphic user interface. So when you log on, I can now close this window here. I don't need the command line anymore. You have an environment that's very similar to Windows. You can click and double click on items. You can right click and see the options that are available. So for example, I can right click on this directory. I see I can rename it and change the icon and do various other tasks. So this is not something that we can go through and teach it to you again. This is just like Windows. So you are expected to click on the menus, to click around, to right click, and learn it on your own. So to give you a few examples here, if I go to accessories, I see there's a calculator, okay, just like Windows. If I go back in there, I have a program called gedit, and this is just like Notepad. So it's just a matter of spending the time, spending half an hour a day, and within 3 or 4 days, you'll become very familiar with the graphic user interface. Now, with this component here, you're going to be doing configuration tasks using the GUI, graphic user interface, no command. So let's go through this one at a time. The first thing you're going to have to do is configure the mouse. Okay, so there are all kinds of settings we can do for a mouse. So an older person, he clicks more slowly. So we might have to slow down the click speed. Or maybe we have a left-handed person, okay? So we need to change the left and right click. So if we go to System, there are two main places, two primary places where we make configuration changes through a graphic user interface, either through Preferences or through Administration. So on the final exam, you're going to have 1 or 2 questions, maybe 3 questions, where you have to come in here and just try to find a place where you can make that configuration change. So if it is a mouse configuration, that's obviously in Preferences. So if we go down, click on mouse, you can see here that we need to make some configuration changes here. Now, we can see here we can change the left and right mouse clicks. Don't do that. If you do, then you have to remember what to do. You can slow down the pointer across the screen. You can change all kinds of things here, but you notice here the OK button is missing. Okay, so that means my display, I can try resizing my display, but it doesn't really help. So here's the trick. Watch what I do. We're going to click, we're going to exit out of this. Okay, before we do anything, we are going to change our desktop settings, our monitor settings. Okay, see what it says here? Increase your monitor resolution and find one that's appropriate for your display. Well, we were not able to click on the OK button, so this here is not suitable. So there are a few things you can try. You can right click and change your desktop background, see what that does. And if you click on that, well, you can see here that you can change colors and choose a different desktop, but that's not really what we want. We want to change the monitor resolution. So this is how you do it. You go into System, Preferences, Monitors. And you can see here we're using 800 by 600, which is a bit small when you look at the other options. Now, I would slowly increase it. If you have a huge display, very big monitor, you can go larger, but start small. If you're starting at 800 by 600, well, let's bump it up one. Let's go by 1024 by 768. So don't go too far. That's the next size up. Let's go ahead and click Apply. And we can see here that our screen has resized. So I'm going to keep this configuration and I'm going to close it and experiment. Notice now we have a scroll bar here. Okay, so let's go back now. If you don't see the menus at the top, don't forget, scroll up. Okay, System, Place, Application, scroll down. You don't see the menus. Those menus you see up here, these are for VirtualBox. They're not actually Linux. So scroll up. You get used to it very quickly. There's no shortcut. You just have to click around till you figure it out. And now, when we go to our mouse properties, voila! Now we can access the close button. We can change things. So if I choose left-handed and click close, it will be a left-handed mouse. If I'm an older person, I can slow down the speed of my pointer as it goes across the screen. I'm not going to do it. I can change the double-click speed. Okay, so I'm not going to change anything. But the important thing now is I can access close. Okay, I wasn't able to do that before. And it's a little bit slow. Let's click it again. Okay, so while that is accepting the change, let's look at the next thing we need to do. So add a screensaver and change your background. Okay, change your desktop background. Now it looks like Linux has crashed, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, no, it didn't crash. I still can, yeah, it has, I see. I've accidentally turned it into left hand. So let's change that back and we'll be fine now. Remember I said we have to be cautious with these configuration changes because sometimes they take effect immediately. So let's go ahead now and change the screensaver and the desktop. Okay, so all you have to do is right click, change your desktop. Okay, choose a different one. There you go, takes effect immediately. You want to change your theme and your fonts, go right ahead, but keep in mind that it takes effect immediately. So let's go ahead and close this. Now we want to add a screensaver. We go back into System, Preference, and we go down, and somewhere in there, keep in mind you have a scroll bar here, you have a screensaver. You can configure a screensaver and it takes effect after 5 minutes and you can change that. So I'm not going to do that. I think that's very straightforward. Make sure you know how to do that in Windows and in Linux. If you have any questions about screensavers or desktops, send me an email and we'll go through it together. We saw how to change the mouse, change the background and screensaver, monitor settings. Now the keyboard settings, Canadian English. Now again, you want to be careful because it can take effect right away. So scroll up so you can see the menus, System, Preferences, Keyboard. Okay, so again, there's lots of keyboard settings here. I'm not telling you which one is going to be on the exam. Okay, but an important one that we need here in Quebec is the keyboard layout. We see USA. If you bought your computer here in Quebec, it's not going to be an American layout. It's probably going to be a Canadian keyboard, but allowing for bilingual. So let's go ahead and choose the country, Canada. Okay, and What variation do we want? We want, well, read the manual for your keyboard or for your computer, and you can see which one it is. Now, I'm not going to change it because it takes effect immediately, but that's where you would do it. And then the last question is the system language settings. So this is not just for your keyboard, this is for your entire computer. So if we go in there, system, administration, languages. Last time we were in preferences, now we're inside administration. You can see here you can change your system language. So everything in your Linux Fedora will change. So I'm going to enter netlab123, the super user password. You have to be a super user for this. And if you want to change it to, let's say, Canadian French or some other language, but be careful here because it will change everything you see here. Okay, you might not be able to read it, so do not change it to a language unless you know how to read it. Now, on the final exam, all you have to do is just simply point and show me how you would change the system language without actually doing it. Now, I didn't go through everything, and I expect you to go through these options here, okay? Probably about 90% of them you're going to understand just by looking at them. However, I did highlight the main ones. So under preference, keyboard, mouse, monitor. Under administration, definitely you would be expected to know about the language. And let me show you one more here. How would you add another user? We see we have a user, Sam. We can add another user here. Let me go ahead and add one more. Okay, we will add a user, Mary, and we will quickly give her a password. And you should do this and then log off and log on with a new user. And I think that's pretty much it. I just want you to click on everything, explore everything that's there. Make sure you know system very well and preferences very well. These two menus. The last thing, notice here, we're not connected to the internet. We're not connected to any network. If I click right here, and I choose my network card, it might say System Ethernet 0. You're going to see that it's connecting. You'll see this little wheel spinning. And look at this. We are now connected to the internet. So if I click on Firefox, Firefox is another browser. I can now go and browse the internet or go to Google, and don't be surprised if it asks you to download a more up-to-date browser. All right, so that's pretty much it. That's the graphic user interface. Make sure you know your mouse settings. You can change your desktop and screensaver. You can change your monitor resolution. You can change the keyboard, especially a keyboard that's appropriate for different parts of Canada, your system language settings, and go through as much as you can from the preferences and through administration. If something is really strange and we haven't talked about it yet, like services, don't worry about it. We will get to it in a future course.